Welcome back into Tapped Out here on the BetQL Network with my co-host Brendan Tobin. You know me, I'm the sports machine, Sean Levine. And now let's welcome on ruthless Robbie Lawler, taking on Nico Price at UFC 290 on Saturday night. Robbie, what are your emotions like, man? I imagine it's a little bit bittersweet going into your last UFC fight.
No, I feel good. I mean, it's been a long career, just kind of focusing on the task at hand, really, with all the stuff going on. Just get my weight down and trying to keep everything sharp and keep everything loose.
How does this feel, Robbie? I mean, like, you've always been kind of a task at hand guy, but it is a bit of a celebration for you as well. Like, is that weird for you? How much are you soaking that in at all this fight week of everybody just enjoying what has been just an amazing career?
Yeah, no, I'm just starting to soak it in, and at first it was kind of weird for me, obviously, but I'm coming to grips with it and appreciating it. Just growing up, I guess. I never usually let those things in because I'm just kind of like focused on what I need to do or what I have next, and never focusing on praise or any of those things. And it's an honor to get what I'm getting in my career. It's been a long journey, and it's nice that people are appreciating it.
Speaking of people appreciating it, we did a segment last week on the show where we basically chose our BMF of all-time UFC fighters. Who's the baddest motherfucker ever to step into the octagon? And this guy, my co-host Brendan Tobin, had the number one overall pick, and he took you, dude. He thinks you're the baddest dude to ever step in the octagon.
Before it was a thing, Robbie, dude. Before it was a thing, like it was a label. Like it was obviously Robbie, like the most entertaining dude I've ever watched do this, man. Like, because you already do something crazy for a living, but I love the fact, Robbie, that other people who do what you do for a living look at you and say, no, Robbie is the baddest motherfucker that's ever stepped in there and done it. Like that. Do you that has to feel like there has to be a level of honor in that. That feels really cool that your peers even recognize that.
It's kind of weird because I never really thought of it. It's nice that everyone's saying that. I just always went out there to fight. Like, this is the UFC, the ultimate fighting, and I think I always went out there and I tried to win the fight. I didn't always win. I might have lost on decision, but my goal was to win the fight, and I'd always stand up and I'd bang.
Well, your fight with Roy McDonald is going into the Hall of Fame, which is really cool.
Best fight of all time.
I remember when Roy had moved down to train in South Florida for a little bit, and he was at, I guess you guys at the same gym at Killcliff or whatever Sanford it was at the time. I found it crazy because I had asked him about your guys' fight, and he said you guys had never. It was at that point 2020. You guys hadn't talked about it ever. Like you hadn't really sat down and just talked about that fight. Have you yet? Like, have you guys ever talked about having one of the all-time classics together? Have you ever had that opportunity?
No, I think it's one of those things like everyone else talks about it, but we're just busy trying to be better at whatever we're doing right now. I mean, that was 8 years ago. We're just moving forward, trying to create bigger and better things. It's as soon as it's in the past, we're just kind of like, okay, yeah, this is what we do, but that's already done. Like, moving on to the next.
Ruthless Robbie Lawler joining us here on Tapped Out. So we haven't even talked about your fight coming up on Saturday night versus Nico Price. Has it been tough at all to focus with all this other kind of bullshit going on in the background?
No, not really, because it's just like with all my fights, it's me just focusing on myself, trying to get better and sharpen all my skills, make sure I'm in shape, hold my body together, and recover after training. That's like one of the things that I have to do at my age is I can go hard, but it's how hard can I go and then still recover for the next workout. So it's just being smart in those things. I have a lot going on, so just focusing on training, and that's it.
I was going to say, what's the body feel like compared to when you first got into this game? Because I saw a side-by-side picture of you from like 15 years ago. Dog, I really can't tell the difference. Like, you kind of look the same. How do you feel?
I actually feel really good. I can hit that top speed and that power is good, but it's one of those things where it's the recovery is different. It's just like can you keep doing it day in and day out at the level you want to do? Can I keep doing extra? And that's really the issue. That's why I'm retiring, because I can no longer do the extra, which I always like to do. It's like, all right, I'm going to do more than the next guy, because the extra might crush me and keep me out for a couple days, just because it's just. So once I retire, it's going to be nice, because I'm not going to have to recover for anything, so I can start torturing myself again.
What, like, Robbie, over your career and the great training and hard work that you put in, like, what did you feel like was your secret sauce? Because you'll hear, fighters at the age, maybe they don't spar as much, maybe they, taper something back a little bit. Did you ever do that, or did you always just go like balls to the wall, always your same style, and it's just hard to keep that up?
No, I did a whole bunch of different things, but one thing I did is I always kept my body healthy. I always lift weights in the off season, always kept my strength, always did that. Always went to a chiropractor, getting massages. Now I'm doing ice tubs, saunas, those types of things. And it's like, I did, when I first started fighting, there was only one way to go, and it was to go hard. And then once you realize, and then I think at some point in time, I took, I don't know, maybe a year and a half, 2 years off from sparring, and I just watched a lot and just hit pads, and then I went back into sparring. So it's just like evolving for what you need at that time. It's like you got to listen to your body, listen to your coaches, listen to the people around you, but it's a process. Not everyone's going to do it exactly the same. There's a lot of different body types, strength levels. You never know how durable different guys are, and everyone's fighting for what's best for their style, their whatever. So I always like lifting weights and keeping myself healthy, is stretching and doing those things. So I think the longevity kind of is just taking care of myself.
Robbie, I'm watching a show yesterday and somebody was asked the question, what's the moment? How are you going to remember Robbie Lawler? And the dude rattled off like 10 different fights and a bunch of different rounds. So since I have the man himself, looking back on your career, what is maybe the moment, the round, the fight that comes to mind?
Like, it's kind of crazy. Like, when I try not to think about fights, but like as I go back, it's almost like all the people I've seen in the career. You maybe fans will remember certain points and this and that, but I always just remember faces, people who helped me achieve what I've achieved and helped me train, sparring partners, wrestling coaches, that type of thing. That's kind of what sports is all about, is like boosting somebody else up so that they can fulfill their dreams. And I had a lot of people helping me along the way.
What do you imagine, Robbie's the plan after this? Like, what do you want to be around the sport? Do you want to be left alone and be out of the sky forever? Like, what is the dream for Robbie Lawler after the UFC?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna coach at Killcliff FC. I mean, so many guys helped me throughout my career, and I'm just gonna continue giving back the knowledge that was given to me and make life easier for some of these fighters who are looking to make a career out of this.
Ruthless Robbie Lawler joining us ahead of his fight against Nico Price, UFC 290. So before you get out of here, after the fight, I got you on the underdog money. You give me 2-1 money on Robbie Lawler, I'll take that every single fight. That being said, when you get the microphone, you think you cry?
I don't think so. You never know, but it's been a long journey. It's kind of crazy how long I've been doing this, so I try not to think of it and just moving on to the next, right? So
Robbie Lawler, go ahead.
I just have one, because Robbie, I'm down here in South Florida. I was curious, one thing locally. Had you had done some like conditioning, strength training with Udonis Haslam before, because his career had just come to an end, had wrapped up, and I was curious if you guys had any talks about it or crossed, because two of the most badass basketball player, one of the most badass fighters, just careers ending at the same time.
yeah, it's crazy. We have a mutual friend. Udonis is the man. Met him many times. Hung out with him in Sioux Falls here and there, and yeah, he's a worker, and that's how you have careers like this. You just work and keep working and grinding and trying to perfect your craft and adapting. And obviously he was one of those guys, a grinder, and it takes mental toughness to do that for as long as we've done it. It's just who we are.
Whenever I need to get pumped up, no matter what I'm doing, if I'm going into a meeting or whatever, I'll watch your third or fourth round against Rory, and I just feel so much better about my day. Robbie Lawler joining us here on Tapped Out. Congratulations on the whole career, man. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robbie.